Good morning, both. How you doing?
Morning, well, good, thank you.
That's good. That's good. That's good. Tell me a little bit about yourself then, and I guess why you've booked the call, and we'll go from there.
Yeah, so we're siblings.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I'm Dana, eldest sister.
Mm-hmm.
Um, yeah, basically, I am assistant head at a primary school, but also want to get into property.
Sure.
Uh, I've been in primary schools for over 10 years now,
Mm-hmm.
so just doing the typical 9 to 5
Mm-hmm.
lifestyle.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like we've always spoken about property.
Mm-hmm.
We just need that guidance on how to start, where to go.
Sure.
Um, yeah, I lived in UAE for about 5 years.
Okay.
Came back,
Interesting.
came back 2 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm kind of like in the middle of what do I want to do? Do I want to buy my first property,
Mm-hmm.
the usual kind of
Traditional way.
trajectory, or start investing? So I
Yeah.
don't know where to use the money properly. So
Got
just
you.
need guidance. Yeah.
Got you. Got you. Okay, that gives me a good little overview of where you're at. Obviously,
Yeah.
with buying property, that's investing, isn't it? So it's more of a longer term play. Um,
Yeah.
Rent to rent, more what I teach is
Yeah.
more like starting your own business,
Yeah.
invest in smaller amounts of capital. So rather than like 25%, you're talking like between 5 and 10 grand.
Yeah.
And you're trying to accumulate seven, eight, 900, £1,000 a month per property, ideally.
Yeah, of course. And then Jeff, he's in property, so
Okay. Okay.
ish.
Okay.
I don't actually work in property, but I work in construction.
Okay, cool.
Currently I'm taking on my own work. I'm doing my own projects.
Mm-hmm.
Just doing internal renovations.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, gradually I'm going to expand. I've been an assistant project manager for a while,
Mm-hmm.
for the past 2.5 years.
Mm-hmm.
I also did architectural design and technology, so I've done all the planning stuff and things.
Okay.
So I've got experience in, let's say, all aspects of,
Good.
starting a project to the end of a project. So
Yeah.
yeah, this is just an avenue we want to explore,
Yeah.
and we're just trying to see which route is the best route to go down.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. No, I like that. It's good that you're together as well. Like I think two people in a team definitely seems to do better than just one.
Yeah, definitely.
Teamwork kind of makes the dream work. You can share the load a bit, and you
Yeah.
do need someone doing like the operation side and more of like the admin and those sort of tasks. But then you do also need someone marketing and getting the deals over the line as well. And being experienced in property will help as well. So that sounds like you got a good base there.
Amaze.
Where do you see yourself like sort of 6 months time? What's the goal long term like?
See, we haven't really planned it out. I think we're trying to suss out what avenue to take. So if
Hmm.
it is a rent to rent
Hmm.
or
A
what's the
buy to let,
one, a buy to let.
Yeah.
So but I know yours is like
rent to
rent to
rent.
rent, as you said,
Well,
and
yeah,
that's what
that's
we've
that's
been
how I
seeing
start.
on your
That's how I
page. Yeah.
started. 7 year ago, I didn't really have enough to put down a deposit on a buy to let, so I had to use what I had.
Yeah.
And being from London, obviously prices are quite expensive. So my dad
Of
fortunately lived in Wales, so I drove down to Wales and started there.
Okay.
Amazing.
And I started renting like five, six-bedroom HMOs down there for £1,200 a month, roughly.
Amazing.
And then
Oh,
tidy them up, and then just it's all right, tidy them up, and then just furnish them and try and rent them out for a bit more, and then I'd
Yeah,
make the margin in between.
yeah.
And I kept doing that over and over again,
okay.
and then I had enough to buy my first one a couple years into it.
Okay. Where
Yeah,
did you buy the first one? In Wales or
yeah,
in London?
yeah.
Okay.
Everything's in Wales, so my whole portfolio's in Wales. Once I realized I could get more sort of bang for my buck, I just continued to stay down there really. And the
Yeah.
cool thing about rent to rent is I was sort of learning as I earned on the job. So I was learning how property works. I was learning from landlords, learning what properties worked well,
Mm.
Mm,
whilst obviously making some money managing these properties for landlords. And that
Mhm.
gave me a good idea of what I'd wanted to buy in the future. And also like you can use those same rent to rent skills when you do buy to maybe like get a bit more cash flow from your property. So you could like furnish it and then rent it as like a hybrid buy to let almost, which is basically just like an Airbnb,
yeah.
where you can make a bit more per month.
Hmm.
but you're still getting that wealth aspect of it,
Yeah.
when it goes up in value.
Can you actually rent the HMOs on Airbnb? And
Yeah.
when I say rent them on Airbnb, is it like you're renting out each room on Airbnb,
No,
or
so
you're
we rent the whole property out normally, just for like efficiency and just to make it a bit easier.
yeah,
Um, some people do try and split the rooms up. It depends. You get different types of HMOs. So you get ones that are just in separate rooms, but then you also get like bed sits and flats that are like
yeah,
there's no living room. They're just each room is a self-contained unit basically.
yep,
So if you get those ones, which are few and far between, but those are the better ones because obviously then you can, it's like having a block of flats basically. They're all separate units under one
yeah,
roof. So
okay,
you can sort of trial and error between some of them. You could have some of them as Airbnb. You could have some of them as like more medium term, longer term tenants as well. But generally speaking, just for like growth and making it easier to scale, we t do tend to rent the whole house to
okay,
ideally one type of tenant, whether it be Airbnb or medium term nurses or doctors, that type of tenant type.
yeah,
Yeah.
It just depends.
Yeah, I feel like you've answered my question because I was going to ask, like, what would you recommend first? So let's say I've got some savings
hmm
there.
hmm
I'm willing to put that work with my brother, then we
hmm
expand.
hmm
So I feel like you've already explained that. So
That's all right.
start with the rent first, isn't
Yeah.
it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, like,
And
like
then we can, yeah,
the
process.
two are different in a sense where investing is just pretty much like putting your money in
Yeah.
and just it takes care of itself pretty much. Once you've got tenants in there, it's quite, predictable. Whereas building a rent-to-rent business, there is quite a bit more work involved. Most of my students are doing sort of 2 hours a day, roughly,
Okay.
in terms of like calling landlords, calling agents, setting their business up, just pitching themselves and getting the deals over the line initially. And then obviously there's the furnishing and setting the property up, staging it, marketing it, and then attracting those premium tenants that will pay that additional price on top. So there is a bit more work involved, especially in the beginning,
Mm.
but equally there's more money to be made. So once you have one or two of those under your belt, then it gives you a bit more margin to employ someone maybe part-time. You can have people come into the business that can help you. We've got like a handyman that we use, a couple housekeepers that we have that go across the property. So it gets easier the more you grow. But that first one definitely need to be putting in sort of 2 hours a day, whether that be an hour in the morning or when I first started, I was doing like a part-time delivery job. So I was calling agents at like 8:30 in the morning and then calling them on my lunch break as well for half an hour, 45 minutes.
Yeah.
And then I would work on my business for about an hour in the evening as well, just fixing my landing page, making sure my emails are getting sent out and just doing that sort of stuff. So definitely a fair bit more work in the beginning, but with the view of growing it to a point where you have less hours that you have to actually put in yourself.
And as a student, would you guide us on how to do these cold callings and
Yeah,
call?
yeah, yeah,
Because
yeah.
I'll say sometimes I'm a bit shy, even though I'm in the school.
Hmm.
But when it's like just
It's new.
present, yeah, it's
Yeah,
new.
yeah,
So
of course. Yeah, yeah.
my
We've got you
shaky.
covered with everything like that. So we've got scripts for you to use, the exact emails that we use, everything that we're using in our business today, you get access to. So whatever we're doing, you'll be able to do. And we've got a few different marketing techniques that we like to use. We send out like direct to landlord letters
Okay.
to the HMO landlords. That creates a bit more of a warmer lead rather than cold calling. But we do get you to cold call, especially in the beginning as well, because it just builds that rapport up. And you need to
Mm.
build that relationship up with the agents as well so that they know you're serious.
Yeah.
And that does take a bit of time. You need to become familiar with them. We also encourage you to go into the shop, the estate agents as well in
Mhm.
your area and have a chat with them, show your face.
Yeah.
That's how I got quite a few of my first deals by just popping in and becoming a bit familiar with them.
Okay,
But yeah, we help you with all of that stuff. We even listen to your calls to try and tweak them and improve them if we can. So we give you the best possible chance of getting there.
okay.
Right.
What was I gonna ask? With the agents
Hmm.
and getting property from these property agents,
Hmm.
What kind of alterations can you make to the property?
Good question. I mean, generally speaking, we'd be approaching either already licensed HMOs that are already licensed just for speed and convenience sake.
Yeah,
In the beginning, I was trying to target like properties with the view of proposing to the landlord, let's turn it into an HMO. But I
yeah,
found at the time it was taking me to do that and to try and convince them to do that, I could have just been targeting the ones that have already got a license. The landlord's already adjusted the property so that it's ready to be an HMO. You save yourself time that way. And they're already like their mind's already used to like the commercial element of it. Like they want to make as much money from it as possible. They understand it's going to be a multi-let, multi-tenants in there. So you haven't got to like educate them on it. They already know what you're going to do.
okay.
The challenge more so now is like standing out from the rest. Because when I first started, it was like a bit less common. But
Yeah.
now, the challenge is more, okay, like they know what you want to do, but you have to like separate yourself. That's why we're so big on like building your business out and building a little brand and having like a good landing page. These are the type of things that separate you from your average Joes just watched a YouTube video and tried their luck.
Yeah.
Okay.
So kind of, I guess, going back to the question of,
Hmm.
you said 6 months.
Hmm.
Definitely, I think to have at least one rent to rent or two rent to
Hmm.
rent. This is,
Hmm.
I don't know.
Yeah.
So yeah, like it sounds like you support all the way through
Yeah.
with your mentoring. How, like, when do you stop mentoring? So let's just say we had two properties down the line.
Hmm.
Um, are you always going to be invested in us?
Yeah.
I know
Yeah.
you'll probably have lots of students.
Yeah. Yeah. No, of course. It's a
Yeah,
good question. You have to ask these things. I think it's
yeah,
logical to ask that. There's a lot of people who don't necessarily keep mentoring their students, right? So it's a good question to ask. I guess I could just tell you a bit about how the program works and then you'll
yeah,
understand
of course.
about it, yeah?
Yeah,
So
thank
it's initially a 6-month program.
you. Okay.
There's three main elements to it. So the first element is like an 8-module course. In the course, you have access to all the resources we have, so contracts, like I was mentioning earlier, any tool you could think of, scripts, templates, everything we're using today in our business, you get access to in the course. And that's going to give you like a foundation level of understanding, and all the tools, deal analyzers, spreadsheets, everything like that. And then the second element is you get onboarded into our WhatsApp group, which is full of other rent-to-renters.
Okay.
So we've got, I think, 40 other rent-to-renters that I've trained myself.
Yeah.
And we're always in there having a chat, asking what's working for people and sort of bouncing ideas off of each other, just having that support system basically. We've got people in there ranging from making 2 grand a month to 15 grand a month. So there's quite a wide range of people in there. But the ethos in there is to help each other out and everyone's always picking each other's brains. So that's the community element of it. So you're not doing it by yourself. And then the third element of it is one-on-one training with me every week. So on a Sunday, we'll meet up like we are now,
Yeah.
spend half an hour, 45 minutes just either working through some of the course or, maybe I can help you out with some of your calls, listen to some of your calls back, try and tweak things a little bit, improve things, but just basically there to hold you accountable, set
Yeah.
you some tasks for the week
Yeah.
and make sure you're doing the work, which is the main part of it really, because I know that if you do the work that we do, then you're going to get the result.
Yeah.
Obviously, if you don't do the work, then you're less likely to get the result. But if you do, then you will. We also have some people that are starting to source deals in the group as well, but it's not
Okay.
like all the time. Like we just had one gentleman who had a deal down here in South London, but he's based closer to Wales, and he was finding it difficult to manage it because of obviously the distance. And he's doing quite well in Wales, so he's sold that deal to another guy in the group
Oh,
who's
okay.
based in Lewisham, and now that guy is using that property and he's making good money from it. So those opportunities do come up as well, but I'd rather teach you how to find your own first.
Yeah.
And then if something like that comes up, maybe a second deal or third deal, we could look at maybe buying one. But I'd rather, the first sort of 3 to 4 months, I want you to get educated and then try and find our own. That would be the goal.
Yeah, of course.
And then we go from there.
Okay.
Okay.
Now I'm just thinking about time wise. I know
Hmm.
you're quite flexible.
Hmm.
Like just being in a school is quite
Demanding.
demanding on
Yeah.
time. Yeah, yeah. Like even by 8:30 I'm in class.
Hmm.
But obviously we can share, but then with you, time-wise, would you
Time-wise,
be?
I've got evenings.
Hmm.
But then we'll need to be flexible throughout the day, isn't it?
Yeah,
That's
well, it just
It's
depends.
fine.
Like in terms of our time, in terms of
yeah,
coaching, Sunday is the preferred day that we do.
yeah, Sunday can work. Yeah.
Yeah, so as long as you're turning up to those calls, that's probably the most important thing because that'll be where we really sort of get the main bits of the work done and we set the tasks for the next week going forward.
Mhm.
But throughout the week, I mean, like, yeah, you will need to find a couple hours each day, whether it be first thing in the morning or even in the evening, doing something for the business, whether it be just building it out or doing some outreach, getting
Yeah.
your letters sent out. You will need to find that time. It can't happen without putting the work in, unfortunately.
No, of course.
So only you know if you'll be able to juggle that or not.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I think I need to.
Did when we're doing this,
Hmm.
have to register a business to do it, so
Yeah, you have to have
yeah.
a limited company. Yeah, basically
Why
like
is it?
it's a property management company basically that you're building. So
Okay,
lettings and management is the use class that you'd need on the company's house.
okay.
Um, Again, you need to do those things because there are people who are trying to do it in their own name, and it's just like it's too much competition now. You have to separate yourself from those guys. Especially if you
Okay.
want to build it properly and have a long-term business, then you need to lay every brick well.
Yeah.
But it doesn't take that long to do that. You could do that in a day, half an hour, set your
Yeah,
company
yeah,
up.
yeah.
Doesn't cost much.
Okay. How do you make your company stand out from the rest?
Branding.
Mm.
Branding, a lot of what we do is mainly in the copy. That's how we're trying to separate ourselves this year going forward. And having like unique offers for landlords. Everyone's saying the same sort of thing, like with the guaranteed rent and that sort of stuff now. So we're trying to tweak things a little bit so we can stand out a bit. And it's basically the personal element of it. A lot of the marketing side is just to set up a meeting with a landlord, but
Yeah.
ultimately you're going to be closing deals sitting with them. No landlord's really going to give you the keys without meeting you at least once. All of our best deals, we've had to go and sit and speak with landlords face to face off the back of some good marketing. So we do it in stages. We'll get you doing all the marketing, and then hopefully we'll get you in front of some landlords, and that'll be where you can actually pitch them. And there's little ways you can incentivize them. If you think about a lot of the tenant rights that are coming in at the moment with normal traditional tenancies, there's a lot more rights for tenants now and less rights for landlords. So,
Okay.
Mm.
if we can lean more towards the fact that we're a company and we're going to guarantee you the rent over a long period of time,
Yeah.
and there isn't that chance of us not paying the rent, and that's quite a huge upsell for landlords, because a lot of them are concerned about having tenants that are not paying and then not
Yeah.
being able to get rid of them. So
Yeah.
us being a company and yourselves being a company, that's a huge plus for them. So a lot of it's in the copy and what we say in the letters and things like that.
Yeah.
And it's just about understanding that person and then being able to speak to them. That's how you'll stand out from the rest, I believe.
Yeah. That
Okay.
makes
And getting through to landlords, is that through the agents or a
Both,
direct approach?
both,
Oh,
both. We've got different ways of going through the agents, but we've also got ways of going straight to the landlord as well. We've had deals where we've gone through agents for like the first year, and then we've ended up being able to sort of cut the agent out after the first year and work directly with the landlord. But
Mhm.
you want the agents to be on your side. You don't really want to be like competing with them
Mm.
because they do have like 80% of the stock, right? So it makes sense in the beginning to sort of approach them not as competition, but more as like a peer.
yeah.
And then as time goes on, you can start dealing with the landlord directly.
Mhm.
But we like to try both strategies, especially in the beginning. It's more of a scattergun approach, and then you start to narrow down as time goes on, and you work out what's working for you.
Okay.
But we wouldn't write off either or.
Like just teamwork, working
Yeah,
together.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. It's just volume. Once you've got the systems dialed and you're doing everything that we do, it's just about doing it consistently for at least, 10, 12 weeks over and over again. You're going to get told no, you're going to face rejection.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
throughout that process, you're going to build rapport with people. They're
Yeah.
going to take a liking to you, and someone's going to take a punt on you at some point. And then that's when you get to like really show, okay, I'm really going to do this.
Yeah.
And then
Okay.
obviously once you've got the first one, you have that proof of concept. You've got a testimonial from a landlord. You can get a new customer to phone one of your first clients and say, look, like, what are they like? Give them a bit of feedback and stuff. It becomes a lot easier once you get that first one over the line, you know?
Mhm.
Mm.
Is it more beneficial, the buy to let than the rent to rent? Sorry.
Um, different, bro. It's one's going to cost you 30, 40 grand to buy your first one, and you're going to make 350, £400 a month if you rent it to a normal tenant, and you're going to get 5% a year appreciation. So if it's like a 100 grand house, you know, you get 5 grand a year as it grows. Um, quite straightforward, quite passive. The other is spending 5 to 10 grand and making seven, 800, £900 a month per unit. You don't get the appreciation. But
Mm.
if you get a few of those under your belt, you know, you're making 2, 3 grand a month. You can save that up quite quickly.
Mm.
And then all of a sudden, you know, you've got enough for a buy to let. You should still have the main part of your money that you've got saved there for a buy to let. Now you've got enough for two, you know, and you've got
Okay.
a
Yeah.
cash flowing business that's actually making you money that only involves a couple hours work a day. So you get
Yeah.
your time back. And then when you get your time back, obviously you can improve your skills and grow as an
Yeah.
entrepreneur. And then it
Mm.
starts to compound from there, you know.
Okay.
Yeah. I think that's clarity for what we were thinking anyway. Rent to rent
Yeah.
first and then go to the
Yeah.
next stage, isn't it? It kind of
Yeah.
like opens up doors
It opens
to,
up doors. It definitely
yeah.
does open up doors, yeah. And it's like I said in the beginning, it's a great way of earning and learning at the same time
Yeah. Learning
without
on.
risking too much capital, you know.
Yeah.
Because most people, if they've got 30, 40 grand, they might just buy one buy to let, but then they have to wait 3 or 4 years for it to go up in value
Yeah.
to pull some money out to then buy another one. And in that same time, you could have taken on 10 rent to rents.
Yeah.
Like my first few, I was just saving up the profit every month and then using that money to get another one. And then we can teach you ways of like where you don't have to pay a deposit, you just pay 1 month rent to the landlord, and buy some furniture. So your startup cost reduces from 5, 6 grand to 3 to 4 grand, you know? So you end up spending less each deal that you take on. And you only
Yeah.
need one landlord to like you. You know,
And
they've
then
got
that's
3 or 4 properties, like, you know, they're gonna give you them if you do a good job with the first one.
yeah, no, that's true. No, yeah, it's answered a lot of questions because I've been in between all three, even just buying my own property.
It can get
And I just thought,
confusing.
just to sit in it and
Yeah,
not make anything from it,
yeah,
obviously over the years, but I'm
yeah,
not renting. So,
yeah,
yeah, it makes sense to kind of start with the rent to rent, open
yeah.
up doors, and then go from there.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, it's a great way of parking up wealth, which is what
Yeah,
buy-to-let is. But in terms of building wealth and actually building that cash flow that could potentially get
yeah,
you out of your 9 to 5 and replace it, it's not going to be the vehicle for that
yeah,
initially, quick enough anyway, you know.
yeah,
But I do still encourage you to do that. So I would still want you to buy at some point.
yeah.
But maybe just not that first step, you know.
Yeah, definitely. So what's like the next steps? Obviously, we need to go and just
hmm
digest, take it
hmm
in, talk about
Yeah,
it. But
yeah.
what would be like the next steps after
Well,
this? Yeah,
Well, we would send you an email after this call, just summarizing what we've discussed. There would be a link for you to onboard and join the program if you wanted to. There'll
yeah,
also be a link for you to book another call in if you had more questions. Like sometimes people get more questions as soon as they hang the phone up, type of thing. So you can jump on and book another call. And we can have another chat. Um, and yeah, it's down to you. If you were to join, we can get you straight in as soon as possible, get you into the group, and we would book our first call probably the following Sunday. I'd give you like a week to work through the course, and then we'd have our first call in a week's time and go from there and get to
okay,
work, you know.
yeah, straight into it.
Yeah, yeah. Well, it will be straight into it for sure.
Yeah,
Because
straight.
the
No
clock's
take
ticking.
that. Yeah, of course it is. We have no time, and
No,
that's what I
yeah,
realized that last year just went so quickly.
yeah,
So yeah, no more talking. It's like action
yeah,
now.
yeah. No,
Yeah,
I'll be there every Sunday, ready to coach you, and as much effort as you can put in, I'll match that and more. You know, it's just down to obviously how much you want it and make it happen.
yeah,
Mm.
of
So
course.
I'll turn up for you guys 100%. You know,
Yeah, no, we
as long
appreciate
as
it.
you're willing to do the
Sorry,
same.
can I ask? With the
Yeah.
Sunday calls, is it around the same time as
It can be
now?
any time. So yeah, so you get access to my calendar.
Okay,
Obviously other
nice.
people do book as well, but you know, if you like book any time from like I think 10 till 5 is a sort of time frame. We are looking at maybe doing a Wednesday as well once it gets a bit more busy. But at the moment, yeah, 10 any time between 10 and 5 on a Sunday. You just book me whenever you need me, basically.
Nice.
Cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you so much for your
No,
time.
no worries, guys. If you've got any more questions, we covered everything.
Have you got any questions? I feel like I wrote some questions, but you've answered
Good,
the questions
Yeah.
for me.
good.
If I
Well, if
don't
any,
think of anything else, yeah.
yeah, if anything does pop up, then you'll have the link on the email to book another call in if you need it as well.
Okay.
Amazing.
But have some time to think, and
Yeah.
yeah, hopefully at some point I'll see you in the program.
Yeah,
All right, nice.
definitely. Thank you. Thank you
Take
for
care,
your time.
guys. Have a nice day.
See you.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.